share a link to the show. Boom. Welcome to a Float Show Friday. If you would hit the like button, share a link to the show. Subscribe to the feed on X for $2 a month. That'd be awesome if you would. There we go. You would be wise to be skeptical about everything you're reading in the news regarding Epstein clients and Trump and war with Iran. If you saw a couple days ago, I'm just getting the arm, that's all right. If you saw a couple days ago, the news that Donald Trump was sending a carrier, a strike group, well within range, into the Middle East via, whatever waterway they were choosing to go and strike at Iran. And it was being rumored that Donald Trump is posturing for war with Iran. And that was last week. And they said, by the weekend, we're going to strike Iran. And then it didn't happen and it came and went. And so people were kind of scratching their heads saying, what will we be seeing? Are we going to see a false flag attack? Are we going to see a Reichstag 2.0 that leads us into war? And we've instead seen some kind of weird false flags domestically, some things that have your heads scratched if you're a thinking person. And otherwise, if you're not, maybe you see some TikToks related to some people getting upset, making some domestic terror threats. And on that note, I'll point out right here at the top of the show, I'll highlight for everybody, I suspect the catch and release, the quick release of Don Lemon, this arrest and release on the same day, I suspect that is to further embroil, to further exacerbate the anger and the rage that's being built up by the good folks, capital G, watching at home. I think the good Americans who are left are being brought to a tipping point on purpose, I think. So I would hesitate to get too angry. I was telling myself a half an hour ago, okay, simmer. Let's have fun. Let's smile about what's happening. Let's look at the positives. Let's look for the silver lining. Because otherwise, I think what they're hoping for people to do is to just lose their patience with all of it, lose their freaking minds. And they want for people like me to, maybe 4 years ago, my cooler head would not have prevailed and I would have said things like, go lynch Don Lemon. He deserves it. I wouldn't have said it sincerely, but I would have said people want that to happen. And again, I'm pointing this out right here at the top. I think they are pulling off some of these things. Whether you can say, hey, they're putting the sloppiest ICE guys together on one team and putting them out on the front, almost hoping for an accident. That's a conspiracy you can choose to believe or not. Like Kyle Kalinske saying, oh, they chose Alex Preddy for assassination a week ago when he kicked their taillight out. They thought they were going to get revenge. They killed him on purpose. Okay, the left thinks that kind of conspiracy planning is ongoing. Allow for some people on the right to think that maybe the catch and release of Don Lemon is to thumb your eye. It is to make good people angry and say, why are the January 6ers spending years in prison for a crime they didn't commit, but Don Lemon commits that crime and spends 12 hours getting fake thumbprinted in a little mugshot? Yet to be seen. I think that is to make people say, all right, then I guess we should go and do violence. That's what they want. So I'm not saying that. I'm prefacing all of this to say, don't fall into that. Do not fall into that pitfall. Don't be fooled, because they would love nothing more than for people like myself or anybody else, you or Tim Pool or Owen, anybody who is making a comment on the news in the last 48 hours, they would love nothing more than for someone to lose their top, to blow their lid, their temper get the best of them, and for them to say, go out and commit some kind of violence. Or just to point out, they might say, they deserve it. You'll have people on the left saying, this administration deserves X, Y, and Z attack. They'll say ICE agents deserve these things, or they'll put their language in a bigger code, and they'll say, these things will escalate and this will occur. if Donald Trump doesn't capitulate to our demands. Maybe you didn't see it yet, and I'm looking in the margins here. I thought I had saved it, but you know how that works. Oh, where is it? It can't be that one. Here it is. Tim Walz threatening Tom Homan that Minnesota could have its very own Fort Sumter or John Brown moment if he doesn't reduce ICE's presence in the state. So a governor telling a deputy of the federal executive agency, the executive branch, a federal agency, Tom Homan, head of ICE, Custom and Border Patrol, right? A governor threatening essentially a cabinet member with what? Assassination? Really, that's what that is. A Fort Sumter / John Brown moment. Hey, a moment where we will kill you, where our side will kill your side. That's what Tom Homan is being threatened with by Tim Walz. And before we hear that from Glenn Beck, I'll point this out. Look at Glenn Beck's profile picture. Look at his little flag there. Look at his new Iranian flag bio, or I should say the old Iranian flag, not the current Iranian flag. This would be a call for at least mass murder, regime change, war. This would be akin to putting the old Reich flag, the Nazi flag. It'd be like having that in and calling for constant regime change, ousting the current leadership in Germany, saying, let's get rid of Angela Merkel and reestablish what used to be. This is what Glenn Beck is saying for Iran. Just to point that out. Okay. So he highlights this from Tim Walz threatening Tom Homan that Minnesota could have its own Fort Sumter, John Brown moment if he doesn't reduce ICE presence. He says this is no longer protest talk. He's implicitly saying this could be the opening shot of a bloody organized resistance against federal authority. It's been an unspoken organized resistance already. And you've seen that with the local police being kind of embedded within these resistance groups. They're not protesting, they're dispatching one another. We've seen this. They are so organized that they have vests and walkie-talkies and shifts that they operate on. So if it's not time for the Insurrection Act with that coming from Tim Walz, what should it be for? And again, I pointed this out. Last week, Trump sends a carrier group. Everyone's clamoring, saying, war in Iran. It looks like it's on. And then nothing happened. And so what was going to be the result? And we were distracted domestically with things going on in Minneapolis. And now the other shoe has dropped. If you have not yet seen, here from The Mirror is the live update. This says Jeffrey Epstein files live. Donald Trump hit by underage sexual abuse claim. They say more than 3 million pages of files related to the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein have been released today. Some key events include these files being dumped, alleging that Trump has been named in one of these complaints given to law enforcement that Trump had raped a 13-year-old girl in 1994. They say Jeffrey Epstein claimed Bill Gates had contracted an STD after sex with Russian girls. I wonder if those were the same Russian girls that Hunter Biden was hooking up with. Probably different chicks. The DOJ has released a caveat on all of these allegations against Trump. One of the things that we've been saying here, me and the people that agree, have been saying for a while is that when Joe Biden or anybody at the DOJ under Trump 1 or Biden, the people the DOJ can take a report, they can do a fishing expedition, find some junk stories about Trump that sound good enough on paper, like a Christopher Steele dossier 2.0, and just pad the Epstein file with it. 3 million new documents that we found while investigating Epstein. And what was it really but a bunch of Peter Strzok characters, the type, going on a fishing expedition looking for junk stories so that when MAGA demands all of this come out, you don't see all of the worst stories about Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and others, Steve Bannon, because you've made sure that Trump looks just as bad with stories like this. And the public, without discernment, would not have any idea what's true and what's false, but by judging on what they know of these people's character, which I'll admit is all seen through a screen. But for the few times you might have gone to a rally or seen a speaking event or whatever, seen a person with your eye right into their skin in person, most of these people you only know through a screen. So it's very hard to tell what is real and what is not. I would guess if Donald Trump had raped a minor, a 13-year-old girl in 1994, and that the government was aware of it, at least by 2019, that would have been leaked if it were true and not recently concocted, right? Like, for instance, if we had had a photo from 1969, we land on the moon, and then there's a few minutes where the guys go dark. We're kind of, incommunicado, and then back again, we're signals up. We're good again, guys. We can hear you. Neil, Buzz, we've got you. Okay, there are a few minutes where they're down. If today they come up with a photo, grainy, and they say, here's an alien, and here's an alien base, and here's what we were doing, then we'd have questions. We'd think it may be AI, maybe faked today. We cannot claim that that photo, released now, comes from then. If, however, we had a photo from 1969, and we'd had the last 60 years to stare at it, and wonder if it's real or not, we could at the very least say it's closer to being as real as all the other stuff from the same time period, right? If in 2019 they knew that Donald Trump had been accused of raping a 13-year-old in 1994, they would have released it in 2020, in 2021, in 2022. So there's a reason that this didn't come out. Either it's true and it was being leveraged against Trump by Mossad. Theory number one, in which case it came out because he did not attack Iran on the time scale, on the time frame that they wanted. Israel issues Trump a time schedule to attack Iran. He kind of wavers and doesn't quite do it, fakes them out a little bit last week, but then doesn't actually attack. So they say, okay, fine. And they slow roll some of these things out on him, and they're true. Or they're false, and they were still leveraging them against Trump, and they're fake, but now they're rolling them because who could tell without discernment, who would know if these are real or not? Theory two, they were recently created, recently concocted. They could be real stories, meaning someone made them up and then told them. They were recorded as if they were true. But again, like a Christopher Steele story, the person recording it goes, sure. And then what happened? At what point did you see Jonah get swallowed by the whale? I mean, they're telling a whale story. Yeah, I was out on Lake Michigan and, well, not me, but a buddy of mine. And okay, well, not a buddy, but my buddy was driving someone. My buddy's a limo driver. And he also drove someone who claimed that they were out on a boat with Donald Trump. And the person just, okay, sure, writing it all down. Whatever the Rolling Stone magazine or Daily Beast wants to run as true because we wrote it. Hey, it's in a government file. Must be true. Does the government file say, hey, here's a wild rumor, and it just copies it down? Possibly. So it wasn't enough when they leaked this little story about Donald Trump being named by a limo driver on a yacht in Lake Michigan, throwing a baby overboard, and it just got crazier and crazier. And you're wondering if maybe the whole story is true, but it wasn't Donald Trump being named? Because that is likely, right? CIA has a completely real story, but they say, oh, it wasn't Trump, it was somebody else, but let's say it was Trump because it's better for us. All questions to ask when you see that a story like this comes out now, not before, not earlier. Joe Biden and his people did not leak this about Trump. They leaked tax returns on Trump, for which Trump is now suing the IRS for $10 billion. But they didn't leak this. So who had this information? Was it ever real? It's a lot like that Trump birthday card to Epstein, where you say, if this was real, we'd have seen it earlier. So the fact that we're seeing it now means it's really probably not real, in which case, why are we seeing it now? Who created this? Or it's real and everyone had it and was sitting on it until right now, or no one had it, but whom? And in every case, it kind of goes back to the one group that we know for sure Jeffrey Epstein was working for, and that's Mossad. This says the latest tranche of Epstein files released today includes serious allegations that Donald Trump sexually abused underage girls. And if you believe it, like I have said, if you believe that this has happened, and a lot of people do, a lot of people think that Donald Trump is absolutely 100% guilty. I have a hard time buying it, but a lot of people believe that. If you do, you have to then believe everyone else who is named would also be just as guilty. Yeah, we're live. All right. Making sure. If you would, hit the like button, share a link to the show too. We'll just be up for an hour or so going over all the headlines. So Donald Trump's accused now in the latest files. When asked about the claims, the White House directed reporters to the DOJ statement, which branded these allegations as a series of unfounded and false allegations that they had collected on Epstein. You know, when they're doing an investigation on a guy like this, and they have to have a grand jury indictment to get him in 2005 or 2006, and then again in 2019, you're asking a 1,000 different people, 1,000 different stories and statements being recorded. And if 10 of them are true, you've got a whole bunch of fake shit that you still had to record and document and memorialize and put on DOJ letterhead and say, yes, this complainant did say this witness did say this victim claimed these things. Maybe the claims are just unsubstantiated. They just couldn't run out the ground ball. There was no evidence. There was no one else to claim it happened. But in some of these cases, they looked and they were false. Like they found evidence that made these stories disproven, not just he said, she said, in which case you could make the argument, of course, you would never just believe the victim claiming the billionaire, right? They tell you, no one's going to believe you. But in this case, the DOJ has actually looked for evidence and found evidence that makes these stories not true. But hey, let's leak them and release them anyway, because it makes Trump look bad. And so that's where I think this is. Personally, I think Mossad sits on fake stories that they've collected, and they say, hey, you know, you are just adjacent enough to these people. Forget that you called the FBI in 1987 and said, I need to report a crime. I'm watching a guy who I think is a human trafficker, which Trump allegedly did. Trump is an FBI informant, not on the payroll, but just a willing participant, a guy who gives a testimony and a written statement about a shady guy on Wall Street he knows. And maybe it's funny because the FBI gets a report from Trump in the 80s saying, yeah, hey, one of our informants on Wall Street, Trump, he's pointing the finger at Epstein, one of the CIA Mossad guys. And so they're like, all right, well, tell Trump just to not worry about it. And if he sees it, see anything, keep it quiet, but say something, just keep reporting it to us. And, otherwise just keep cool. We're watching it. Little does Trump know that he's a made guy. Maybe Trump is fully aware that Jeffrey Epstein is Mossad at this point. And that's why he goes to the FBI and says, whoa, we have a problem. And maybe the FBI is aware and says, I know we have a problem. The problem is managed from inside the house. You have to wonder why Obama came and went and you didn't hear a blip about any human trafficking, pedophilia, Epstein, nothing. Not a thing. Trump comes along and makes it an issue. That's got to be worth something, right? Epstein is charged, and whether you believe he died or not, on paper, his legacy, his reputation is he killed himself in prison after human trafficking children for sex. That didn't happen under another president. Biden tried to make it seem as though it wasn't that big a deal, and none of these these Epstein client files came out under Biden. Almost like someone was just grabbing a grenade, pulling pins, and then waiting until the next president walks in, toss him into his lap, and walk out. And now Trump is being asked demanded, why don't you release all these all these files? We just passed a law saying you are required by law to release every single one of these files. And maybe the Trump DOJ is saying, we just got the keys to these file cabinets. They've been hiding little grenades with the pin pulled all over the place. Some at the Pentagon, some at the DOJ, some at the CIA. And we're going to be damned if we do and damned if we don't. We're going to release things that we can't even verify are true. Some we know are false. Some that they just made up. And if we don't release it, it looks like we're hiding it. So we're fucked either way. Is how the DOJ would have you see it, right? If it's not true, then they're really good. At least that's how I see this. They say the production of these materials may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, videos, as everything that was sent to the FBI by the public is included in the production that is responsive to the act. So the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law by Trump on November 19th, says anything the government has collected regarding Epstein, the public can have access to it. And a caveat to that then is, it's everything, good, bad, or indifferent. It's everything. True, false, obviously fake, cartoon images created, poems that AI wrote, fan fiction, Photoshops, everything. And then maybe also some redacted images of, Ghislaine Maxwell with her top off. That's what we have in these files. And so people are going to see, fan fiction of someone saying, I was on a jet plane with Donald Trump and we feasted on the innards of an unborn child and then we ate its brain and is it going to be true? Or is it a schizophrenic leftist writing fanfic being paid by the CIA $20,000? Maybe Jack Smith wrote him a check. They sent out how many different Christopher Steeles to go out and create little dossiers, and this is just one. They said they have 3 million documents on Epstein. Do you think all of them are real? Moreover, do you think the ones they're going to make headlines about now are the real ones, or are these going to be the ones that are the chaff they want you to catch and get distracted with and go, oh, Trump did what? Because really they're trying to have you avoid seeing some other things. So let's remind you of some of those other things. Jeffrey Epstein, remember I'd said you didn't hear a blip about him during Obama's 2 terms? Jeffrey Epstein was giving ex-Obama lawyer a $10,000 Hermes handbag, a $9,400 Hermes bag, as well as a spa at the Four Seasons, saying she needed some pampering. One of Obama's lawyers needed a measuring job. She wasn't a contestant in a pageant. But let's say ex-Obama counsel Catherine Rumler got chummy with Jeffrey Epstein after leaving the White House. So she had a job. She then took a new job somewhere else. And in payment for all the different kickbacks that she was giving to Jeffrey Epstein, all the favors, the little gifts, the calls that go through, the favors that are requested or whatever. So she gets some lavish gifts in return from the human trafficker, sex offender, pedophile, including a $9,400 Hermes handbag and a spa trip to the Four Seasons in D.C., according to records released by the Justice Department on Friday. This is Catherine Rumler, who now serves as the general counsel at Goldman Sachs, enjoyed the full half-day spa appointment at the Georgetown Resort in August of 2016, writing to an associate that, quote, she won her case and she needs some pampering. So this is Jeffrey Epstein writing to his associate saying, yeah, we're going to book her in. She won her case. She needs some pampering. Good for her. Thank you. I'm going to go on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Facial, then massage. She responded. The same day for the works, which can run up to $1,000. The associate replies, great. Yeah, okay, so through this bitch, $1,000 spa day, she could use a couple. The following month, Epstein also told his executive assistant, Leslie Groff, I actually had tried to send a LinkedIn connection request to Leslie Groff way back in the day. She did not accept it, I don't believe. Sent an email to confirm receipt with Kathy, this is Catherine Rumler, for the pricey French bag in a series of emails. Oh my God, Rumler, he is in so much trouble. I am dying. It is beautiful. She replied. So he sends her a fancy Hermes bag in the mail, and then follow up. Jeffrey wants to make sure you got the bag. And she's like, oh my God, it's so great. I just got home from my spa day where you spent $1,000 jerking it. And then I get home and there's a $10,000 bag waiting for me. Look at that. From Jeffrey Epstein to one of Obama's lawyers. And this is just one quick little blip, one story that they were able to piece together because there's a paper trail. Because he's talking to an assistant and the assistant has to make calls and the calls are going to an establishment and they keep a schedule and a book. So that is how this story has been able to put together. But how many more hundreds of these do you think exist? Well, here's another. From Kate Hyde. She writes on X, if Bill Gates is willing to secretly drug his own wife, imagine what he's willing to do to us. From Robbie Starbuck, he wrote 8 hours ago, in the Epstein emails that the Department of Justice has dropped, Jeffrey sent himself emails memorandizing a fight he had with Bill Gates. So he had an argument with Bill Gates. He's taking notes and writing them to himself. That way, again, like I say, these stories can't be made up for in 2023. Bill Gates comes out in an interview and says, there was a time where actually I was in an argument with Jeffrey and we really weren't actually friends. We were at odds. He can't say that without a claim that there actually was a fight and there was a falling out. Jeffrey Epstein, for as much terrible misalignment and disorganization as he was maybe famous for, I don't think, let me put this another way. It's not that he himself is famous for being disorganized. He's famous for having an entire intel agency in Israel cleaning up his messes. He has that little smirk, that little smug grin, that shit-eating grin, because everyone who knew him knew what he was doing. And the only reason that you and I didn't is because someone was paying billions of dollars to propagandize and make sure that the truth never came out. So when Cindy McCain says, oh, we all knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. We all knew. That means it's not just the people who were guilty who knew. It's anyone in the sphere who could have eyes on would go, those people, they're doing something criminal. And the fact that the public doesn't know means it's all intel. It's all spook shit. Donald Trump, a billionaire on Wall Street, goes in 1987 to the feds and says, these guys are trafficking people and raping women. And the feds go, okay, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks. At that point, there's got to be some red flags going off in Trump Tower. So now back to the Epstein emails that come out, memorializing, again, Trump made notes. Bill Gates, no notes. Jeffrey Epstein, notes. I hate to say that Jeffrey Epstein is trustworthy, but for what other reason would he write these notes but to have himself be able to recall and look back on them? I don't think he's writing these because he goes, in case they ever suicide me in jail, this is going to look bad for my friends. I think these are genuinely notes for him. They write, in these notes for himself, in which he recalls and memorializes a fight he had with Bill Gates, he says Bill got STDs from Russian hookers and then asked Jeffrey for antibiotics that Bill could secretly give to Melinda, another genius high IQ person, remember, without her noticing. How would you dose someone who's intelligent without them knowing? It's hard to dose a dog without them finding the med. Maybe that's why Bill is saying, I need like a liquid gel or like something kind of dissolvable, like an odorless, tasteless, consistency-less, textureless. Can I just have water that is antibiotic, Jeffrey? Do you have that? How is it Bill Gates, king of medicine, the expert, is asking a financier for medical help? Again, this says, Dear Bill, I cannot believe that you have chosen to disregard our friendship developed over the last 6 years. I am aware that accidents happen. This is in July of 2013. It is how each of us have chosen to deal with this unfortunate event that has me dismayed beyond comprehension. You have decided to discharge me from my job. Had Larry, you, or your PR person tell me that I engaged in morally inappropriate behavior. As if you didn't already know. Right? That's what he's saying. You made it a public thing. You made him say these words to me as if, like, this is the unspoken thing here. Asked me to be the major actor in a cover-up so that you can maintain the reputation that you've worked so hard to achieve. Asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement and have categorically told me that we cannot have any direct ongoing business relationship. In total disregard for its impact on the public perception of my reputation, he continues, I will have to diligently avoid the truth, tell people that Bill will not invest with me, and then craft an answer that suits your needs as to why. But you did agree to send a letter of recommendation should a future employer ever ask for one. You've told me that Melinda insists on me not communicating with you unless Larry is copied or present. Yeah, Larry is Bill's little babysitter now for Melinda. Said and he goes on, that I'm though you have consistently maintained that I could not have done a better job, that I was underpaid compared to my contribution. Then you, beyond all sense of fairness and frankly decency, said that as generous compensation for keeping the Gates reputation intact, you would, quote, let me keep what we agreed I'd already owned. Those were the investment pieces, and give me 2 years severance, similar to Christine Turner, another casualty. If the shoe was on the other foot, I would have said, Boris, this is not your fault. I confessed to Melinda, you didn't. It was in a moment of weakness, and I will do anything within my power to make it right for you. I have more money than anyone needs, and I assure you I will structure something so that you will not be penalized for my error. Lucky for me, I have enough money to provide to you, though it will not heal the injury. It will make you secure in your future. In addition, I will bend over backwards to make sure your next career is rewarding. And so he goes on from there. Let's see. I've decided to resign my position effective immediately with BG3, Bill Gates 3, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I have not come to this decision quickly or without a great deal of thought. During the past few weeks, I have caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. I have the greatest respect for my friend of 7 years and wish them both well. In my role, and by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was busted originally in 2005 after at least 10 years of rumors about him being a diddler. And in 2006 and 2007, right, after Jeffrey Epstein is first indicted in Florida, then Bill Gates joins him as a partner. This is in 2013, and they'd only been friends for 7 years. That means at the earliest, Bill Gates' meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in 2005 or 2006. It's almost like as soon as Jeffrey Epstein is outed as a pedophile, Bill Gates is like, oh, well, let's go see what he's doing. And that's why they're saying you have a confidentiality agreement and a 2-year severance plan because Bill Gates now says, hey, this guy's way more of a leech and a liability than I was ready to bargain for. My wife is now going to get an STD because it's all very strange. And by the way, I'll also just highlight this. I almost don't believe that Bill Gates did have sex with Russian girls or that he ever got an STD from one. Is he straight? Hard to believe. So, the DOJ has released a tranche of Epstein files, and they say now, with them, they've met their legal obligations under that law that was passed, the Jeffrey Epstein Files Transparency Act of November 19, 2025, signed by Donald Trump into law and then ignored for 2 months? The DOJ releases that tranche of Epstein files now saying that they've met their legal obligations. They don't have to do a damn thing more. All the censoring and redaction work that Bongino did. He now gets to go back to his show, pretend he's a hero, and hope that the dust settles and people forget. And the haters will move on, and his fans will sit there slack-jawed drooling, and they'll think he was a hero. The Department of Justice released more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images in its files tied to the death and criminal investigation of the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't convicted only for sex offenses. He was convicted for human trafficking. This is from NPR, so they're like, "Hey, well, he was just a lone pedo. He was a lone pedo wolf out there." NPR reporters are reviewing the files, which so far have included unredacted names and photographs of Epstein victims, communications with powerful figures like Elon Musk, and former White House counsel in the Obama administration, Catherine Rumler, and even more mentions of President Trump. So isn't that weird? Communications. Jeffrey Epstein had communication with Elon Musk more recently than Donald Trump did. Interesting. Is it possible that Elon Musk himself is in the Epstein files more than Donald Trump is, and that while neither of them ever assaulted someone with Epstein, the files are damning enough for either of them that the left is going to say they did? Right? It doesn't matter if it's true. They're named, so let's just say it happened. NPR reporters are reviewing all the files, but can you imagine NPR reporters coming forward and saying, "Hey, I found Kathy Griffin doing something wrong. Hey, I found Jake Tapper being named"? No. The only reason you're hearing about Catherine Rumler is because of what she looks like, and she probably said something mean about NPR on her way out of the administration when she worked for Obama, and so they're happy to burn her. Being mentioned in the files, this says, including unvetted submissions made to the FBI, and that's a big inclusion right there. They're saying these 3 million files are a catch-all. It's everything. We've not sorted this out. Many of these files could be duplicate claims. They could be people calling in and essentially pranking the FBI with a fake story, which is illegal, but how often do you think Democrats are willing to break the law? All the time. So how many of these do you think are unnamed, anonymous reports filled out because they legally have to take it, but in no way meant to be taken seriously, and law enforcement knows that, the DOJ knows that, the public won't be aware of it, and so the news will have a field day selling rumors as possible stories and leaks and leads. Look, from the new Epstein files, look at this new story. And it won't be true, and we'll all know it's not true on its face, but they'll go, "Yeah, hey, look, I saw this story about Trump throwing a baby over the yacht in Lake Michigan. Can you believe it? Trump took a limo? In what year?" Because that would be provable. Trump riding in a limo in what year? We can find that. We could find the record of that today. Guy's kept a professional schedule and has been on the books forever. So we could easily find that. "Oh, I don't remember, but the limo driver said that he once drove Trump and that guy said he was on a call and he overheard talking about a baby being thrown over a yacht." So the left thinks that it implicates Trump as the bad guy. Even if the story, as harebrained and retarded as it is totally true, all that means is that a limousine driver heard Donald Trump, possibly on the phone in 1987 with his FBI contact, saying, "Yep, Epstein is a bad guy. Someone told me he threw a baby over the wall in Lake Michigan really bad." And the limo driver hears that and says, "What?" So you're hearing a retarded game of telephone. The DOJ knows this and is trying to save the public a little bit of time, trying to save Trump a little bit of face, trying to save the administration a little bit of efficiency and movement and political influence. You've got a mandate to do a bunch of things domestically right now, get them done, and the media would love nothing more than to gum up Trump's works by saying, "Hey, look, you're named a bunch in these rumors. Hey, look at these essentially garbage reports. Let's just release them," because the public, again, will have no way of knowing that they're not true. They'll have to suspect that they're possibly true. And in that suspicion, they will raise doubt that Trump could be a baby killer. NPR reporters are reviewing the files again. And I ask, do you believe that NPR is going to be forthcoming about anything they find? You don't have time to go through 3 million documents, so the news will be paying their lackeys and their hackies to go through. And then they're going to report whatever they want to sway and manipulate your opinion. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says Friday's release means the DOJ is now in total and fulfilled compliance. Whatever. I'm adding words. He said the DOJ is now in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which Congress passed last November. Trump signed it into law, legally requiring the DOJ to release all the files. They say that's all been done now. Every single file's been released. Every file, real or not, every story, true or false, has been put to print and now released for the public to feast on, regardless of whether it's all true or not. Seems like a great way to, as I've been saying for months, just let all the people who are guilty right the hell off the hook. You just say, oh, that's a hoax. And then, oh, here, we'll just release all the stories that have ever been reported. And now you don't know which is true and which isn't. Because we never took any of that information and went to grand juries and indicted some of these people. We just have to say they must have all been rumors. NPR's initial review of the new files found Trump's face blacked out in a news article sent by a one-time advisor, Steve Bannon, and a spreadsheet that contained unverified allegations of inappropriate conduct by Trump and others that was briefly online. So this is Steve Bannon communicating a spreadsheet containing dates and times of unverified allegations of inappropriate conduct by Trump and others. A Justice Department spokeswoman says the document was down due to overload, but now is back online. Again, these are all files that may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, videos, or everything that was ever sent by the public to the FBI included in this production. Again, they want to make sure this is super crystal clear. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims, outright fabrications, made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, these claims are unfounded and false, and if they had any shred of credibility, they'd certainly have been weaponized against President Trump already. And we can agree, but for the thing that keeps nagging in the background, which is if it had been dammed up and held back by an intel agency not within the U.S., if it had been dammed up and held back by Mossad, and Mossad told every one of their intel assets, left, right, and center, this is one thing you don't bring up. You don't leak these things. These are one of our aces in the hole on Trump. Then this actually makes sense. Or none of it's true and Mossad still held it the same way. And again, I'll say, if not for public individual discernment, no one's going to know whether these things are true or not. This is the Schrodinger's pedophile president. If you want him to be a pedophile in your heart, then he is. And if you don't, then you can choose to believe that he isn't. And there's enough on the board that any team can point and say, nope, we are scoring more. It's fine. This is from the New Republic. They wrote it up this way. The DOJ briefly erasing the long list of tips against Trump in new Epstein documents. They could say, hey, the whole trove, the whole tranche of documents was up and then it crashed, but now it's back. But they're not writing it up that way. They're choosing to write it up. Hang on. I want to move this around. There you go. Switch it. There we go. Choosing to write it up this way because, hey, if there's nothing in these files that absolutely is damning on Trump, let's at least make it look as bad as possible, including the hammed up mistakes or errors in how it's released. We'll spin that, make it look really, really bad too. The worst thing in this tranche of documents, it looks like, just first time reading it, is that Steve Bannon had a spreadsheet. And he's an advisor, so he'd be aware of the Stormy Daniels accusations or the other leaks and accusations. Trump says he's running for president, and a couple of whores come forward and say, hey, we were at a party with him, and I have a photo where I'm, getting a picture with Donald Trump. I could tell the media that we hooked up, and no one would ever know that we didn't, or you could pay me. That was the Stormy Daniels claim. She said she's going to tell people they fucked. They didn't. But if you pay her, she'll never tell anyone anyway, and so the story will never get back to the missus, even though it's fake. And so Trump's attorney says, okay, Michael Cohen, go ahead and pay her, because the story does more damage to the wife and to the campaign, even though it's a lie. Let's not have it come to light anyway. So why wouldn't Mossad hold on to fake dirt and release it the same way? Here, the New Republic doesn't care to tell you the truth about the fact. They'll just say, here's this fact in a more damaging way than it really should ever be looked at. The DOJ puts up a whole bunch of information. Some of it, after a moment, can't be accessed. Page crash, DDoS, data corruption has to be refiled, whatever, but it's available now. But they write it up as though the DOJ tried to quietly erase the most damning thing in this document release, but then they released it again anyway. Seems like maybe you're reaching. In these files, was there some big gotcha? Not really. Not really. And they're miffed about it. So the gotcha here is that they erased them, but now they put them back up. They released them, and then they erased them, and then they're back again. Is that the big gotcha? The biggest thing they had on Trump appears to be this photo that they took with Epstein in the late 90s or early 2000s, before 9/11. Here's the nastiest part of the leak of the story. This says Donald Trump has been accused of measuring children's genitals with a finger in the Epstein files. So now that you've heard all the caveats to why the DOJ and attorneys from left, right, and center would tell you, hang on, don't believe everything you read. Hear this. Newly released documents from the Jeffrey Epstein files include an email summarizing a complaint alleging that child auctions were held at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. Accusations denied by the White House and by any reasonable person. Do you believe that Mar-a-Lago was both a place that Donald Trump kicked Epstein out of for being inappropriate with a teen at the spa, right? Receptionist, little girl, whatever, towel girl, little summer job, whatever, rich parents, members, lives nearby, so she's folding towels at the spa and fixing the little sprays of perfume. And Jeffrey Epstein's like, hey, why don't you come over here, and leers at her. So Trump throws him out, takes away his membership. You're no longer allowed at the club because you hit on a little girl. He asked her if she had hair. So Jeffrey Epstein's gone. So that has to be true. Reported and recorded, and it's all but fact as told by the workers at Mar-a-Lago. So Donald Trump hated Epstein enough to throw him out, cause a scene, call him a pervert in front of a bunch of people, chastising him for what he said to the girl, made him apologize to the girl before kicking him out. And then simultaneously, years later, we hear, oh, actually, they were selling kids at Mar-a-Lago. They'd never sold kids at Comet Ping Pong. That was a harebrained conspiracy. Hear me right. I want this to really sink in. If you said the elites were trafficking children, selling children and auctioning people and, sticking a finger in and saying, oh, this one's just right, and then selling that kid off for a little bit more, you would be considered an insane person who needs to be locked away and medicated. If you said that the elites were trafficking children and auctioning them and selling them within their private properties and in their homes, and that Epstein's mansion should be forensically swabbed, and that the pedopodestas, they should be under criminal surveillance all the time. If Clinton can't be looked at as someone who's ever auctioned anyone or anything, forget the fact that Hillary's lady gets busted trying to bus in a bunch of illegal kids, just trafficking children in from Haiti. Forget that. If you said this 2 days ago about Epstein, you'd have been like, laughed out. No, that's insane. They'd have told you that's crazy. Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone to anyone. He just bought kids for himself and then raped them on his own island. That's what they told you. Because there were no clients before. Now you're told Donald Trump is himself auctioning children at his house. Kind of a jump there. Kind of a big leap from there are no clients of Epstein to actually Epstein was a client of Trump. Trump auctioned the kids to Jeffrey. Donald Trump is accused of measuring a child's genitals with his fingers at an auction at his Mar-a-Lago residence in newly released documents from the Jeffrey Epstein files. The disturbing statements appear in an email summarizing complaints submitted to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center related to Epstein, the pedophile, billionaire, financier, human trafficker, rapist, who was found dead in his jail cell in 2019. That's the entire article. Thanks. That's the UK's version of journalism. So the short version of that one is an email summarizing a complaint. Again, it's a game of telephone. This person heard from them who said that this person said that Donald Trump took a finger, inserted it into a victim, a minor, and then said, oh yeah, yep, this is just right. As kind of a crass, I don't even know what, gesture, a crass abuse of a victim before the worst is done. Hey, you're being sold? Let me see. Lift your arms. Let me see. Stick your back out. Let me see. Do you believe that? Or again, is it Mossad thinking, what's a good story? We have him saying to Billy Bush on the bus, you can grab him by the pussy. Let's do something with that. So we'll say that he was using his hands, grabbing people, assaulting people. Let's say he was fingering a kid. How do we make that a repetitive, common thing he would do repeatedly? How do we make that a thing? Oh, let's say that someone at the FBI is hearing a complaint from another person, and that person said that a victim told them Donald Trump used to come by the pageants and stick his fingers in the little girls and then auction them off for sex. In fact, one witness says he was sodomized all the time and that he was lucky he was a boy because they were harder to find than the little girls who Donald Trump would just finger and then throw away. They would just take out on a yacht in Lake Michigan and toss them over. And again, if that were all true, then you'd have heard about it the moment all the Epstein stuff broke. You wouldn't have heard about Bill Gates being a criminal sleazebag. You'd have heard about Donald Trump. Anyway, I don't want to miss the rest of what we'd had pulled up here, and I don't want to be online all night. So here from Channel 9, news from ABC. This says Candace Owens dropped an alleged audio clip of Erica Kirk recorded just 5 days after her husband's assassination. Whether it's 5 days or 11 days. If you hear audio of Erica Kirk laughing and smiling and in her Zoom call that's been recorded, where she's saying, you guys, oh my gosh, can you believe it? 180 million, whatever it was, hits or views or new this or that. She's going over the stats. Guys, we threw the biggest memorial service ever recorded. Guys, we had the largest political event with 250,000 people attending. She's all about the numbers, Erica Kirk. She's all about the figures. It's the facts and the figures and the dollars and the cents. So I wonder if this is the whole, I don't want to watch the whole thing, obviously. But it's all very strange. Now, I pointed out to you before, Charlie Kirk's multiple different life insurance policies that he had. There were a few that all named the named insured TPUSA CEO. So if he died, like, MetLife pays the CEO of TPUSA X amount. And he also's got one from New York Life and it's $5 million. If Charlie dies, surprisingly, all these little catches and kickers. So where on their own, you just go, hey, that's good business. He at least was thinking ahead just in case he was in the spotlight. But if you put them all together and piece them out and kind of zoom out and go, the big picture here is that TPUSA CEO made As soon as they were, sworn in as the new CEO replacing Charlie Kirk upon his death, that person just got a bankroll of like $50 million. And maybe maybe it's 5. The point is, it's not 5, it's more. It's like 18 million between 3 different insurance policies. Why is it that Erica Kirk was thrust into that CEO position when, by all accounts, there were better suited people that worked in the executive office at TPUSA? People tried to say, oh, it's because it's her husband, and don't question her. She's the wife. She should take over for her husband's legacy. He had better business partners than her at TPUSA. But if you look at it from the perspective of the next CEO wins a war chest with no strings attached because he died, well, then, of course, she's going to swoop in. And that makes you wonder if she had anything to do with it. Did she maybe have more than just a surprised wife face that day? I don't want this to be the whole video, so it better not be. Okay, well, it's not going to be. Owens implies that the audio was off-putting since Erica okay, let's see. Erica Kirk and Candace Owens to hold a private meeting. Well, we already watched that. We heard about that last month. Owens says on her show multiple times she does not believe the narrative that Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson. No one does. No one believes that. We all believe that Charlie was killed by a military operation, that Israel ordered the hit and a clandestine operations team in the U.S. carried it out. I think that looks pretty obvious to everyone who's paying attention. I predicted it a month before it happened, exactly that way, lest we forget. Maybe you did. Did you forget that? I'll show you. Let's see. Where's the X button? To my pinned post, just to highlight again. I'll always show you that. I had said when Harrison had posted, hey, Charlie told an inside source that he thinks Israel might kill him. I had said they would. If Charlie turned heel on Israel, they would have someone shoot him at an open air event, and then they'd have some idiot groiper with a genetically anomalous issue there to be the patsy fall guy. It's why you never make the deal with the devil in the first place. Pretty obvious to anyone paying attention at the time. So we saw that was coming. I wouldn't have predicted all the different reasons why Erica Kirk might also have a hand in it. And it makes sense. Israel's not going to pull the plug on some asset like TPUSA without having there be a plug to immediately backstop it and fill it. Okay, hang on. Let me try to use the articulate words and metaphors here. I'm going on no sleep and I'm traveling tomorrow, so just happy I'm even online. TPUSA is a huge it's a resource, it's an asset, and to kill Charlie and kill TPUSA is to kill everything that Israel sees that it has kind of helped work for in it. They want to build TPUSA and weaponize it to promote Israel. So a friendly TPUSA is way better than a dead TPUSA. Israel wants a dead Charlie Kirk and a completely Zionist TPUSA. So before Charlie gets killed, you partner him up with a chick that you already own. So Erica Franzwe, already well owned, her parents were likely Mossad assets themselves, gets sidled up right alongside Charlie. He kind of probably feels like at some point his life is a little bit of a Truman Show, and he starts to buck the system and get a little bit of a mind of his own, and they blow it right away. And they make sure that before they do, life insurance policies are set up to organically fuel and fund her takeover. And it'll look like it's a sympathetic, loving wife who's going to be determined to follow through with her husband's wishes instead of a hostile takeover. And so if you haven't heard the audio, go to X, search for the audio. It's pretty damning. In fact, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? Ginny Robinson on X says, wait, Erica Kirk's lawyer is tied to Jeffrey Epstein? What? Make this insanity stop right now. Is that true?
Erica Kirk and her Florida-based lawyer, who's, by the way, directly tied to Jeffrey Epstein, are moving to make sure that Tyler Robinson's trial is conducted as quickly as possible so that they can get this kangaroo court conviction and almost certainly a death sentence and then cement the official narrative. Because once this guy is convicted, in all likelihood, he's going to die. And at that point, anyone who continues to investigate, anyone who continues to look into what really happened on September 10th, 2025 at Utah Valley University, or on September 8th and 9th at Fort Huachuca, will be cast as some kind of an insane conspiracy theorist in the eyes of the public. And there's a really good chance that they'll face legal action at the hands of Turning Point USA. Cease and desist letters and lawsuit notices will be flying out left and right like hotcakes.
Yeah, it's the other development that we haven't mentioned yet here because I haven't been online. TPUSA sends a cease and desist to Erica Kirk and Project Constitution and others for digging into what are now being exposed as the lies being told by Erica Kirk and TPUSA. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? What do you want to come and say hi? You're being annoying again, huh? Can't do a show without you being annoying. Okay. Nope. Get down. So, I don't have all the details on Erica Kirk and who her attorney may be, and Stu Peters sounds like he might have them. I don't know who she works with. I don't know who she traffics children for. It's all very odd. But if you wanted to hear the audio, let me see if I can find that. Because the Erica Kirk audio is crazy.
Everybody, I still love all these emoji Zoom things. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended, and stadium overflow, Westgate, insane, you guys. And then you have, was it 100 million? You guys that heard the gospel and all about Charlie and all about everything that you guys do and the hard work of Turning Point USA is insane. We had thousands that were registered to vote. I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But
200,000 units, not dollars. 200,000 in merch sales. That's units. And TPUSA is doing an average sale volume. So that's not dollars, just so you're aware. They're selling multiple millions, tens of millions of dollars in merch. But 200,000 sales. Like you fill a cart, it might have, if you're a mom shopping for Christmas after Charlie Kirk just died, you want to get each one of your kids and their spouse and everyone else a freedom shirt. Bless your heart. And so you order $230 worth of fucking t-shirts from TPUSA. And so that would be a sale. And they're saying we have 200,000 sales. And I understand that sounds wrong. And you're thinking, no, Tom, that's not what she's saying. That's another reason why I say she shouldn't have been made CEO, because that's not how people talk. But that is how she was reporting it.
I just wanted to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to the events team, the development team, the graphic design team, the production team,
the pyrotechnics team. We need to say a thank you to the fireworks and the overhead flying, the Blue Angels that did their thing. It's bad. It's only a minute. We got another 2.
It's just phenomenal. Their incredible work leading into the memorial. And honestly, a lot of the staff that worked on the memorial, they had 20-hour days for a week during the time of us grieving the loss of my husband. And honestly, I know several staff that didn't even sleep. Again, you guys are...
She's like, you guys are the real heroes, because you guys actually loved Charlie. She keeps calling him my husband like it's a character role. She's like, okay, now if you guys recall, let's just go over some of the script notes here again. You guys love my husband. Okay. And some of you, I know you guys even spent like 20-hour days putting these media packages, these little B-roll things together, these highlight clips to play at the funeral. You guys, I know you loved him for real. So you guys must have actually been grieving. As she's laughing, she's like, I got a tan. I dumped those actor kids off at CAA, so I don't have to see them ever again. I mean, life is good for Erica Kirk. But if you actually work at TPUSA, she's like, oh, you guys, you silly little dorks thinking that the mission is real. And for some of them, it really is. So she's like kind of mocking them is how I feel. When you hear this, she's mocking them. She's like, oh, you guys, you're grieving my husband. Oh, you guys were working so hard to make this so good because you actually loved that fucker. I can't believe it. It just doesn't sound sincere. Maybe I'm that pessimistic and jaded. Obviously, I have some kind of a pessimistic, jaded slant because I predicted that they would kill him before they ever did. And so now to see that there may be some people way closer to him than just his Israeli Mossad contacts and Jewish, vendors, donors, the funder, the people who are giving him funding. It's not just them betraying him, but it's his own wife who really wasn't much more than a beard. Maybe Charlie was a guy who liked tranny porn and actually did give $30,000 to a trans OnlyFans model with special requests and messages. What kind of special videos was Charlie Kirk, requesting of the tranny on OnlyFans that he paid her $30,000 for them? Ugh. Was he like, hey, tape your balls back and let me see if it looks like a vulva? I want to see. Was that what Charlie Kirk was paying $30,000 for? We don't know. Mossad still kept all of that buttoned up because Erica Kirk was a pretty believable beard. If you were Erica Kirk, you sold it hard. You made that gay guy look like he was straight and he loved you and you had 2 kids by him. But at some point, if he's not marching to the script of the boss, Mossad, you might even tell Mossad, you're like, listen, he is tough to deal with. You see these photo shoots we do with these kids? These kids don't like him. These kids can tell he's a gay guy. These kids don't like that. And so maybe it's better if we don't have him around. Maybe that's what she said. And they go, fine, we'll blow him away. How's Tuesday? Or whatever. They go to UVU and Charlie goes, no more. And now, if you haven't noticed, they're deleting Charlie Kirk comments on X, and I'm sure in other places, but his X account has had replies deleted. Replies that were anti-war with Israel in nature. I'm sorry, war backing up Israel with Iran. Things like a reporter saying, hey, when I was reporting on this issue with Iran, I made sure we pushed to not go and blah, blah, blah. And so Charlie responds saying, amazing, because he's supporting the anti-war movement. And that post has been deleted. There are other examples. One of these things on its own would not be suspicious. It would just be like, oh, it's a question. Let's get an answer. But all of these little suspicious data points that show people doing irregular things and conspiring behind the scenes behind Charlie's death before, during, and after makes it appear like, yeah, it's not organic. There is something going on behind the scenes. And the fact that the Trump administration's not set up a blip about it makes me think, yeah, it's CIA, Mossad, and maybe others. We all expect that we know all the players. Are there still secret groups and societies that maybe just began that we don't even know about yet? Right? How long was it before the secret societies were uncovered that they began to be discussed openly? There's some kind of delay there. And so here we'll listen to the rest of this.
Breathing angels. And I'm so grateful for all of you. And obviously a huge thank you to the Mosaic team. VI, you guys are 10 out of 10.
It's sad to hear it. She's like, yeah, hey, listen, the arts team, the graphics team, the visuals team, the marketing team, the sound team, the audio team, everyone who worked to make sure that this event was a full, perfect psyop, you guys did a great job. I mean, she's like this close to being like, hey, thank you to the mortuary for like making sure that this like looked real. Thank you to the guys who like did the explosive pack. Thank you to the guys who rigged Charlie's mic. Thank you to the guys who swept up the blood. Thank you to the guys who cleaned up the debris in the glass. She's really going all out.
The most incredible team. We just do. And you guys know that, and you guys are all a part of that. And I am so, so thankful. And if you do have a moment and you run into any of those staff members that you know had a role in this, and
Yeah, we get it. Tell them you said thank you. We understand. On to the news of the day. From MSNBC's. Oh no, it's not. It's from NBC News. From NBC. Don Lemon released after his arrest by federal authorities following protest at Minnesota church service. That's an interesting way of putting it. After depriving civil rights and disrupting civil liberties, disrupting protected religious services, they're calling it protest. All right, NBC. Again, this is why I started the show by saying all the things you've seen over the last week or two may just be thumbs in your eye designed to make you fucking lose your head and go, that's it. Let's go take care of this myself. A lot of people are going to see this. Don Lemon was released the same day, and they're dying for someone to lose their cool and go kill that motherfucker. They're going to say, hey, you know all these January 6 people who did years in prison and had to be pardoned because they were made felons by the law? One of those guys is going to have enough PTSD and see this from Don Lemon and go, I'm going to go stalk him. He's going to go lose all of his devices, grow a beard, go find Don Lemon and lynch him. That's what I think they want to happen. And so I'm very clear to say, don't do that. There's no violence. I don't want any violence. And so I started the show by saying, you're seeing all these things over the past couple weeks from the left and the right, and both sides believe that there's some kind of conspiracy to just raise the level of angst and anger and rage, to up the ante, to put the ball in the other party's court for violent reaction. Glenn Beck highlights that Tim Walz is threatening Tom Homan, saying, you pull ICE out of my state of Minnesota, or we may have a Fort Sumter John Brown moment. We might just have a couple of our people come and shoot a couple of your people if you don't fucking leave. The governor is telling one of the federal agency heads to remove federal agents from his state or they might get killed. Okay, so while that's being threatened, the people who are committing violent acts, committing crimes on that side, are being arrested and then going, you're out, back to work, back to the public for you. You don't have to worry about actually getting charged, actually sitting in prison, actually being beaten in the DC DOC while you're held completely unjustly. If Trump did anything that Joe Biden had done to innocent people, you'd actually have people justly calling for an insurrection, but you don't. Instead, you have them calling for the insurrection completely unjustly. And Trump is kind of hesitant to do really anything more than just defend against whatever little attacks come from the state agitators, which ultimately leaves the guys and the ICE agents, the federal agents, anyone who's the National Guard, it leaves them open and vulnerable to attack. So don't wait for Don Lemon to host another church attack where more women break their arms trying to get out of the pews and escape and slip and fall and break an arm running away from these people. I didn't know that happened until today. Did you know a woman was fleeing from the church and broke an arm trying to get away from the mob? That it wasn't just like, oh, we're walking in peacefully like it's a vigil. Oh, have you ever been to Broadway where they kind of walk through the crowd? Well, it's the opposite of that. It's like you're in line at the bank, and then from every entrance, armed guards, robbers run in. That's how the people at this church felt. So if this happens again, because Don Lemon was released and he said, I'm going to go right back to work. I will never, ever stop. He sounds like William Montgomery. I ain't never going to stop. He says, I will not stop ever. The First Amendment and the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless other journalists. I will not be silenced. So they should have kept his ass in prison and made him actually learn the lesson. Instead, he's going to think he's a martyr. I said this the last time we were live. I said, if they do arrest Don Lemon, it'll only be like a little, here you go. Here, now you get your bona fides. You get to look tough. You made your bones as a, hey, everyone wants to get arrested and have some street cred. And I think Don was maybe pressuring them. Come on, arrest me. Come on, give me a little slap on the wrist. Everyone will run to my defense. It'll be great. I'll make so much money. So I think maybe he had a week. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what this is for. Why arrest him, charge him, and then release him immediately? If not just to say, na boo boo MAGA, another one of these people who can get away with anything they fucking want, but you can't even do anything about it to defend yourself. Forget he won't get arrested for breaking the law. You will get arrested if you say something bad should happen to Don Lemon. Forget that something bad should happen to Don Lemon, because if someone says that, they could get in trouble. Don Lemon can actually break the law and commit a violent felony, and he's just out on bail, and there was no bail. The judge released him with no bail. He's not a risk, so they released him. And so this is why I started the show by saying, I genuinely believe these things are done and the inaction is decided upon. This is deliberate because they want Americans who believe that justice could ever come under the law to lose their mind and impose frontier justice instead. Like I just said, you believe that justice could come under the law? But what happens when every single person in a position to actually do something to enforce the law in law enforcement and in government snidely sneers and turns the other cheek and says, not for that one. Not for that one. Only for you guys, the little individual peons, the taxpayers. But when you finally bust one of our people doing something illegal and it's blatant, we're still not going to do anything about it. Fuck you. That's what they're telling you. And I think they're doing that because they're not in a position to actually win if you did attack them. So they're hoping that there's just sporadic little one-offs. A guy loses his mind and goes and threatens or kills an assemblywoman in Wisconsin or in Minnesota. You see these little incidents, but you don't have a wave of people saying, okay, Monday we're going to take over our state, right? You don't have that. You have people on the left saying they're willing to take on federal agents, but you don't have people on the right saying the feds have until Monday morning to have Tim Walz in their custody or he's going to be on a street post. And you hope that we're referring to him just being tied to one on the ground level. You would want people to say, hey, feds, you fucked up releasing Don Lemon and having some regional judge kick him right back out onto the street. You've not learned. Send the Marines or the National Guard, arrest him as an enemy combatant. He's leading an insurrection locally and pretending to only be a journalist. And in so doing, he's now become suspected as a possible, RICO terrorist, conspiracy to commit insurrection or sedition. Hold him for a good week or two while you go through his phone. You go through his other devices. You treat him like a terrorist, like all the January 6 people were treated. Because I bet you'll actually find some shit, probably some child porn and some other stuff in his devices, but you at least put him through the same ringer that you put all the innocent little old grannies after January 6th. He does the crime, you at least let the process roll through him instead of going, well, let's spare Don Lemon. Spare Don Lemon because, it actually works optically. It makes all these normal people pissed off. It makes all these people lose morale. It makes all the people that voted for Trump curse him when we release Don Lemon to the, back to the public. So let's release him. They watched, they saw that people demanded Don Lemon get charged. And so they waited. They finally charge him, and then they just kick him right back out. And they're going to watch as these charges probably get dropped. And then it looks like a win for Don Lemon and another loss for Donald Trump. So I think they do that because they know the chances then of something bad, worse happening to Don Lemon are higher. I told you before that they marched Don Lemon into that church. The analyst or the planner of that op surely had to have gotten a talking to after it, because Don Lemon could have been shot. Don Lemon could have been killed. And every day after this, Don Lemon is he's risking his life being in public because someone is going to see him not having been punished for this. And they're going to say, all right, then fuck it, kill him. That, and again, I'm not saying that. I'm suggesting to you, I think pretty articulately, or at least repeatedly, that the dumb deep state reason for hitting him with a little slap of the wrist like this is because they're hoping then that he becomes a target for some kind of frontier justice, some kind of, I'll show you, if he's going to slip through the cracks of the law, I got nothing left to lose. I'm going to go and then they think they're taking care of one themselves. A lot like how every Minnesotan on TikTok is saying, if you see ICE and you can get them, take them out. You have people on TikTok openly calling for the assassination of ICE agents. They don't know them. They don't know that they're guilty of anything. They just see a guy with a badge and a mask walking down my neighborhood. And so people on TikTok on the left are saying, if you can get one, take them. Absolutely fucking insane. And so the right has total justification for the left being wiped or being arrested for all those things. Who cares when ICE shoots a guy when the guy weeks before is screaming into the ICE officer's agent's faces, shoot me, kill me, you're going to have to shoot me, motherfucker, you shot her, you're going to have to kill me. And so then what? A couple days later they did. And no one's going to feel bad another week after. Maybe Springsteen, but no one else, no one with a brain is going to think too hard about it after 2 weeks. And the left knows this, and so they need the right to march into the line of fire and also have something bad happen to them. And the way I think you get the right to act like the left is to continue to let people on the left off the hook. So you get a guy like Don Lemon, you set him up, you put him through the gauntlet, and if he survives, you don't do you don't do a thing to him. You kind of let him off the hook. You let him off easy. And then you pretend like you're going to get him. And then you let him off again. Let him right back out. No bail. And you are hoping by like teasing him into danger and then pulling him back. Tease him into, you're hoping that someone on the right loses their grip and whacks Don Lemon. And then you can go, oh my God, now it's a civil war. Even though the left has been doing exactly that to ICE agents. The governor of Minnesota himself saying to Tom Homan, we're going to start attacking and killing you if you don't leave. So I think that's what they want. Hear me right. I don't want anyone to go out and do that. Don't hear me saying that as an instruction to go do anything, right? Hear this and then don't do anything ever violent ever at all. Just listen to the show. My thought is they would love someone to go and kill Don Lemon when they continue to put him out in front of the public to show his ass about how he can commit crimes, break the law, say fuck you to law enforcement, fuck you to your rights, fuck you to your church, fuck you to your election, fuck you to your everything, fuck you to your agents, conspire to have them killed, and nothing gets done by the law. Okay, well then they want the neighbor to do it. They want like someone to go out and do something to them. Make it make sense any other way. Why they would say, hey, Don Lemon, it's probably safer if we have you in our custody this weekend. We're charging you. And when the public realizes that these charges aren't going to go all the way and you're going to plead them down and there's going to be some kind of deal and you won't be made a felon, there'll be a price to pay. Someone on the left is going to accuse you of giving up all the names of the people who were in that group, and they're going to want to do something to you. So you're not safe either way, Don Lemon. I think his handlers might have been smarter to tell him that. I said last week, do they want Don Lemon getting killed? Because sending him into a church like that is kind of asking for someone to attack him. Not maybe kill him, but for like someone to take a shot, take a swing at him, hit him, throw him out, be aggressive. Now it's like they've doubled down. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But if I'm the CIA analyst and I'm putting Don Lemon on different ops, and I say, hey, Don, good news. I pushed, and we are going to get you a good, credibility builder. We're going to get you some charges, and then we're going to have the prosecutor drop them down, but it's going to be great for headlines. People are going to think like, oh, yeah. We're going to arrest you, which, yeah, it will be annoying and an inconvenience, but all the left will then rush to your defense. That's good, because otherwise they don't have any reason to. You're an ugly piece of shit, and you should be going to Gitmo. But we'll have all the people rush as if we're organically defending you from a tyrant, when all it is justice. And then we're still going to let you slip through the cracks. So we're going to get you all the backup and support. We're not actually going to have you get in any real trouble. And it'll just build an impetus for someone on the right to take a shot at you. You can tell me I'm crazy, but I think, again, if there is someone pushing Don Lemon to do these things, then they want him to get killed. And if they don't, then they should have him stop doing public things. Like forever. Stop calling yourself a journalist as you commit felonies while live streaming them. The girl who live streams herself carjacking a guy and then running him over isn't a journalist covering a protest. Someone should tell Don Lemon that live streaming yourself while committing felonies does not a journalist make. Okay. Is that it? We had the Ilhan Omar fake attack. And so if you watched this and you thought it were real, then I guess you were a little bit of a goober. She looks at the guy, sees him. She says something about, now, Trump, we are going to march for another impeachment. And then looks at the guy like, that was the line. The Q word was impeachment. I want this to be tit for tat. So I'm going to make my point about impeach Trump. And then you are going to lunge at me and spray me for having said that. And then I'm going to pretend to go, and chase you out. And then they're going to get a bunch of pictures of me doing this. And then I'm going to have a great thing. And it's going to look great. They believe Trump staged the Butler assassination. Maybe he did. Let's say he did. So they're going to try to do their own version of that. And here it is. He doesn't attack her. He stands up, squirts her, and goes, waddle, waddle, waddle. Now I'm backing up, backing up, backing up, backing up. He doesn't go anywhere near her, actually. He stands. Okay, he gets up. So he's already shooting. And he's squirting way across her. He's not even really hitting her. He's getting on the paper and the podium. And now he's already moving. He's backstepping. Moving away from her. Not towards her, away from her. And then the security guard runs up. Let's move this over. This is too retarded to be smart. I'm going to get you as I run to the corner. I'm going to get you. Security guard's like, shit, I was not in position. I am way too far away to have already grabbed him. Yoink, grabs him on a big hug, and I'll just back right up. And now she goes, good, you got his arms down? Oh, I'm going to pretend to hit him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. Just kidding, I'm not going to get him. Look at that. It's a swing that she does. She doesn't even make she does up. I'm going to get him. Pictures. And then arm right back down to my side where I don't touch him. I don't make contact. I just made it look like that. Unfucking believable. Now you watch it all happen, and for a second you think, oh my gosh, what just happened? Did he lunge with a knife? No, he went and squirted a little baby syringe with apple cider vinegar across the podium and said, ah. He's dating a black woman. He has 2 daughters who are both leftists. He has 2 ex-wives. He has right-leaning pro-Israel posts as of a couple of months ago. Like, this guy was chosen to be a possible plant op, whatever. So they say, hey, start to set the post history of having been pro-Israel and pro-Trump just in the last couple days. And then here, we'll have you do this. I guarantee you they know each other, or he has already been set to do this. And I'll show you more of that in a second. But here, watch just how obvious this is. Look at, she looks at him. They want to say, look at this image of a strong, powerful Somalian Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar. Look at her. She wasn't fazed. He squirted something at her, and for all she knew, it could have been acid, but she just stood to charge on every challenger. Bullshit. It's all fake. That's why they did this, is because retards will then say that. They'll go, wow, she was a real gladiator. She was real strong. I'm so impressed. Gladiator Ilhan Omar. She's just real smart. And look at her raising a fist. She was going to punch that guy if it wasn't for the fact that he'd already backed his ass up into the security guard. If he were actually attacking her, wouldn't he have attacked her, made contact with her, hit her, hurt her in some way other than like a little gleek, like he spit on her, but with stinky apple cider vinegar, just enough for the people nearby to go, oh no, what is that? I smell something. That's something pungent. It's just enough for the people's reaction to be believable as if it was a real attack. Because if they look at it on its face, we're watching it back days later, they're going to see that it's obviously fake. No one in the room moves. They all see this. They're like, whoa, what is this? Is this like theater? Is this the civic theater happening tonight? I thought we were at a town hall meeting. Like, they genuinely don't believe what they're seeing is a threat, which is why none of them even move. And eventually the ladies, when they're like, oh, those men aren't hugging. We're used to hugs from behind like that from men in Minneapolis, but they're not hugging. They're on the ground and they're not doing the other thing either. And they're all, oh, ooh. They make all the, surprised women sounds. Now watch again. She's going to say the magic words of, yeah, we're going to go and impeach Donald Trump. And as she says impeach, she looks at the guy like, that's the magic word, impeachment. And then he goes, oh, yeah, right. Oh, Diane, and squirts the thing and moves directly away and over into the security guard's arms. And you can tell that like they rehearsed this as like he's going to be there in the front row and he's going to march toward her and squirt the thing. And then the security guard's going to rush over and bear hug him up. And she's going to rush at him and try to swing. And it's going to be this nice picturesque moment. And they did not time it out, space it out, or run through it a few times to make sure it looked believable.
Face impeachment.
Look at that. She looks directly at him.
Face impeachment.
She's looking at the dude, not because he's like pulling something out of his pocket or fumbling with it. He's got it in his hands. He's ready to go. He's just like staring at her. And then he misses his cue. And she goes, she even hesitates to continue on in her speech. She's like looking down like, wait for it. Oh, now he's getting me. Oh, she wanted him to spray right after she said impeachment. I wonder what else the speech had to say. I wonder, this should honestly be evidence because he squirted something on the paper. So the paper should have been taken in as evidence. How long was the speech? What more was to be said after those words? That he can look forward to impeachment. How much more was written after that? Was it just, thank you for listening, please? What else was there for her to say? I wonder if on the paper, there was some kind of notation for her that she would see, this is when you get sprayed. I'm just asking because it seems that obvious. So it looked to more than just me. Like, she was signaling that guy. And that seems like one of the more real things going on lately between Epstein, Trump, the shootings in Minneapolis. I hate to say that more should happen, but hey, listen, when we have neighbors who would rather defend criminal pedophile rapists than law enforcement, then I guess I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. So that's what I think. Hey, I'm going on a trip. I'm headed out. I'm vacationing. I'm going out of the office for the next week. Be back on Thursday. So I'll see you on Thursday. Don't expect from me a show tomorrow or any other day up until maybe Friday or Saturday. Hasta luego. You want to say goodbye? Oh, you want to say goodbye? Hello. Yeah. What do you think? Are they all pedophiles? Are they all satanic pedophiles? Probably. All right. Don't have any videos to show you. Don't have any other fun facts to get into. I thought the Erica Kirk audio was interesting. I think the Don Lemon arrest and then release is like a quick, ooh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Kind of the same reason why I think there's pushback against the Insurrection Act. Not because they think that that's a bad deal for Trump. Just to be clear, Donald Trump should have called the Insurrection Act already. Should have already initiated. It should have already been done. Order it up. Send the National Guard to all 50 states. Get the 8 bluest states and put them on complete lockdown. Put together all the FEMA camps. Send everybody. Go full retard. Do it. Because they're going to go to war with you as if you have, even if you don't. And if they do that, they win. So they hope that Donald Trump doesn't do it, that they do, and then they win. It's a game of chicken. Who's going to actually be willing to enforce the law to the death? Tim Walz just told Tom Homan, we're going to start killing ICE people. Minnesotans may just start killing ICE members, ICE agents, in Fort Sumter, John Brown style attacks if you don't leave. Really? Okay. Hey, Donald Trump, I don't care if you have to go and wipe all of them out. Take care of business. Go enforce the law. And I think maybe they're hesitant to do that. People are in Trump's ears saying, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't go, fully cross the Rubicon. Because they're hoping, like little quislings, that the left could still have a chance. So long as Trump doesn't actually go full bore and enforce the law, we could still keep picking them off. Don't allow it. I'm not for it. Just lay down the law. Say, hey, ICE, all of these people are now enemy combatants. Tell Tim Walz, you're now an enemy combatant. Turn yourself over. Tell your state police to form a guard around you as you hand yourself over to the nearest federal building. Like, set that up. Or turn the orders over to Tim Walz. Tell him, turn yourself in. You have 12 hours. And then watch as the constitutional crisis gets laid out on CNN. You have states held hostage by stolen elected officials, right? People like Gavin Newsom and Tim Walz are elected through election steals, holding their states hostage through fraud, and then threatening the federal agents' lives with war? No. Insurrection Act now. Arrest Ilhan Omar. Arrest Jacob Frey. Arrest Tim Walz. If you were just following the letter of the law, you'd have already done it. And so why wouldn't they have already done that? You have to suspect that in part it's because they want things to get worse. They must want people to lash out. What else could there be? I mean, if you see them violating the law, wantonly breaking the law, and then nothing happens to them, you don't break the law and they accuse you of it and throw you in jail anyways. They're not leaving you any incentive not to go and do something terrible to those people. And that's why I say don't do anything to those people, but question sincerely why law enforcement refuses to act. Question sincerely why this administration refuses to actually put the pedal to the metal. To go and send a team, go and arrest Tim Walz, put him in handcuffs and walk his ass out. When the state sees that their governor and maybe the mayor of the city locally have both been arrested for incitement, insurrection, sedition, conspiracy, that they have deprived each of their citizens their own civil liberties. You know, Minneapolis citizens, taxpayers in the city, they're being deprived their civil liberties by their mayor and by their governor. Who's charging those guys for depriving their entire state of their civil rights? Don Lemon does it to just a small church full of people. Jacob Fry does it to a city full of people. Tim Walz is doing it to an entire state. Who's arresting them? You should be asking why they're still free, why they're still walking free, why they're going into another weekend telling their citizens to go and fight the feds, to go and commit any crimes that they see fit against the opposition. What are we doing here? Are they hoping that the right will say, all right, feds, are you guys standing down? ICE is doing deportations, but is the FBI not going to swoop in on these people? If you don't, are you telling us we should form up and do something? Again, I'm not suggesting that we do. I'm asking rhetorically, is that not what they're leaving open for? Is the federal government not creating a vacuum for chaos and violence by not having structure and order under the law? At a certain point, you see a mayor and a governor and an attorney general of the state, Keith Ellison, and others openly call for war with American citizens, telling this group to go and attack that group. And the federal government says, yeah, we're watching. That's it? Surely then you must ask, do they want those people attacked? Because that's how you get them attacked. You know, I'll say this and then I'll hang it up. If there was one guy in town who was harassing everyone's wife and was rude, crude, crass, and crossed every line you could think of, and yet everyone was afraid to do something under the law, even the sheriff was like, oh, I don't want to do anything, you're the mayor's brother. At a certain point in time, someone would just drop a dime on that guy and something would happen and you'd never hear from him again. And so you wonder again, I said this last week, are they putting Don Lemon in a position where he annoys the wrong people, is seen to get away with the wrong thing against the wrong people, and some former ICE agent who does have PTSD and used to be, in Iraq and had an issue and does this, sees that and goes, you know what? Fuck Don Lemon, and ices his ass. Are they building for that? Like, are they trying to cook that up by allowing for people on the left to continue to wantonly commit crimes, violate federal law in your face, laugh about it, call it their constitutional right? Don Lemon says, it's my First Amendment right to rush into your church and stop the service and fuck over your Sunday and break your wife's arm. That's his right to lead a mob onto the church property and to disrupt services and terrorize families. It's his First Amendment right. Or as the people in Minneapolis have said, it's their constitutional right to go out and protest by impeding and obstructing justice and trying to defend against the arrest of criminal fugitive rapist pedophiles. Oh, it's our First Amendment right. We're protesting. Okay. At some point, again, you just have to wonder, what is the pressure being built for? Why do they want people to be so ready to see their neighbors dead? Right? When Alex Preddy gets shot, you have a bunch of people online going, good, more of that. Fuck them. And it's because you don't see people like Don Lemon get arrested. You don't see people like Alex Preddy get arrested for kicking the taillights out. So then you get his lights put out and people cheering. If we had law and order that was blind to who you were, if you broke the law, your ass went to jail, you wouldn't have people cheering on death. You wouldn't have people saying Don Lemon should get killed. You would not have people seeing Tim Walz committing what I would say is an incitement to insurrection and sedition, threatening federal agents' lives, you wouldn't have people seeing him doing that and questioning his safety and sanity. You wouldn't have people asking God, when is divine justice going to come? When is righteous justice going to come down and smite these people? You would not have that if you had law and order in the courts actually holding up a standard across the board for all these people. They want to tell you and me and anyone else that would represent us that we are guilty of all the crimes they're committing, and they would put you and I in prison for what they themselves do. When you catch they themselves doing what they have already tried to accuse you of, they sneer and they say, nuh-uh, and they just hope that you will escalate and you become violent so they can say, oh, we were right. Look at that. Look at that. We were, instigating, but we pushed you to the edge and then you finally struck out at us. Look at that. So I hope no one attacks Don Lemon. I hope no one attacks the mayor or the governor in Minneapolis and Minnesota. I want them to be arrested and tried under the law and then sentenced as traitors. I don't want someone to go and attack them because then it makes them look innocent. Like the worst thing that Alex Preddy could have had is, that he would have been killed, because now he can be a martyr and people don't have to know that he's a criminal and a creep. He should have been arrested, and then they should have found all the crap on his phone. Instead, they shot him. Oops. And now the left can claim he was a good guy. Notice every single time the left has a martyr, it's a bad dude. That Kyle Rittenhouse shoots 3 people, 2 of them are pedophiles. Just, what are the odds? 2 out of 3 people at a leftist protest for George Floyd are pedos. So again, I think that they have to have the left get martyred so that's a clean cut, open and shut. Oh, look at that. Just one that's dead. We don't have to ask, the person's flawed background and criminal history and mental illness and all these other things. We'll just say, oh, the Donald Trump administration killed someone. That's what they're hoping for. And again, I think that's why they continue to trot Don Lemon and other people out and say, look at this person that can commit a felony and not get arrested for it. And if they get arrested, they'll be immediately released. Little old grandma from Alaska sat in prison for 3 years after January 6th and is only out because Donald Trump got elected and pardoned her. And she didn't even do anything wrong, but doesn't matter. She got put in prison for it. And we're supposed to watch Don Lemon get in and out service same day. Charges will be dropped next week and not get pissed off about that. You let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things. I'll be gone for the next couple days, so enjoy as you can keep up with my thoughts and my musings at x.com/Tommy Borum Jokes. You can follow me there. Please do. I appreciate your support, your subscribership. I don't need any new friends, though. I'm 33 now. I do not need a friend. See ya.
Okay, now what you gonna do?